dos, uno, ya estamos.
All right, here we are. Sunday leftovers on a
Sunday leftovers.
Tuesday, a beautiful Tuesday in Austin, Texas,
That's right.
with no
Nice
hat
day.
and with a bird who just pooped on me from above. What can I say?
And
Here we go.
if you are lucky, you maybe
can see it
can see
again.
the replay.
Yeah, if it happens again. If the bird ate a lot for breakfast. Oh, so today's a heavy day for us.
Yeah, no.
Devastating day. Many of you may not know who Dave Hollis was, but he was a very dear friend of mine, a beloved member of our community, and he passed away. And we're working through the just processing that. Prayers for Rachel, prayers for the family, for the kids, prayers for everyone involved. So
Yeah, it's hard.
tempted to not
I know.
sit
And
here at all today, tempted to just withdraw, but faith communities have the resources in hard times, and this is one of those very difficult times. It was a complete surprise, and I'm sure anyone who's on social media connected to anything, any world where ANC is, would have seen by now, but we're just devastated. Dave, we loved you. You were larger than life.
yeah, I really appreciate that you. I mean, didn't
Didn't
step
quit.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
didn't today.
So tempting.
I mean,
You know, you don't know what to do,
I
but-
will totally understand
Sure.
if you did,
Yeah.
but you didn't. So I appreciate that too.
There's no game plan for times like these except rally and protect and love hard on the family. So
Right.
anyway, so that's
Well,
that.
here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah.
Interesting week. You know, after situations like that, it's almost difficult for my mind to get past what even
For
happened.
everybody,
Yeah,
man.
right.
And-
Like yesterday,
yeah.
the
You're-
bomb dropped, but yeah, I feel like it was a very significant Sunday for us. It felt a lot like many Sundays have felt recently, which is there was some beautiful music that warmed people up for the beautiful benediction, and there was just some words in the middle that sort of filled some space. Clyde Howell
Okay.
just walked in, our youngest member of ANC. He's waving eyes, making eyes at us.
Yeah, I have a.
Clyde the Glide. You have a meeting with him?
Yeah. We'll
Okay.
Meanwhile.
It was a significant Sunday for so many reasons. As I went back and tried to reread the sermon today, because what the even heck, I can't remember what anything was said.
Just be perfect.
Yeah, just be perfect like God is perfect, which is
Yeah,
really,
it's
which
just
is really,
super simple.
it's really hard news for perfectionists. And I've heard it explained away so many times in so many ways, like, oh, Jesus doesn't, the very same people who claim that everything is literal say when he gets to this verse, they're like, well, he didn't really mean that. That's a metaphor. That's a figure of speech. And so
Yeah.
my gut is to not do that with a text like this. But it's an ongoing thing that I've noticed in the life of Jesus. I'm sure many of you have as well, that when he gets into his teachings, you absolutely just cannot reduce his teachings to a series of suggestions or demands or requirements around actions. Like, Jesus is not even playing ball in the world of actions anymore. Part of the reason why he's such a disappointing teacher, if you're looking for a religious sort of structure, is that he's constantly going to play ball in the world of desires and yearnings and your heart and what you want to be doing as opposed to what you're doing.
Yeah,
And
we
so-
were so into the things that
The
we
external
do,
things.
the external
That's
stuff.
right.
But
And so he doesn't
this
go
is
there.
another thing.
And so what's always difficult to keep in mind, or the tension to balance with Jesus, is that he's talking about embodied ways of being in the world, and he's going to locate all of that in the human heart. And so a few things that I highlighted as a way of sort of getting back inside that discussion. It's how we live with one another that trips us up. It's how our bodies engage the same spaces as other bodies that needs tweaking. And of course, Jesus, the great embodiment of God, life source and flesh, speaks of nothing spiritual that isn't also rooted in the body. And so the centrality of the spirituality of Jesus is always going to be the human heart. In fact, as I studied this past week, and we worked in a team to find the words to sort of wrap around this, I think what makes sense for me is less this idea that Jesus is inviting us to heaven. That's not even his language. And not even exclusively this idea that Jesus is inviting us into a kingdom of heaven, Matthew's language. But that Jesus is inviting us into the domain of the human heart. When he says, You've heard it said, don't murder. Perfect. You've heard it said, love your neighbors. Perfect. That's not even the point anymore. Jesus is suggesting whatever the fountain or the wellspring or the source of anger that produces perhaps murder in its worst extremity, whatever that source is the point. And so he's going to take it all the way back, always to that very beginning place. And I think it's bad news, and I think it's good news. Because you know what? I think we are more certain about what we think about heaven than we are capable of navigating the contours of our own human heart. Days like today, when you lose people you dearly, dearly love, there's no playbook for this. There's no external, there's no ritual, there's no routine. There is only the width and depth of the human heart in which to hold space for things that are literally larger than our bodies. Yeah.
To be honest, things like that you're facing today, the loss and all of that, this would be way more easier 20 years ago when the system provides all the things.
You mean 20 years ago in our faith chronology? You're not talking about technology, right? So when we have pat answers, pat answers,
I like,
Dave's in heaven.
Be
this
happy.
Is simple.
He's in heaven.
Yeah. We should be rejoicing.
Right.
The funny thing though is that when we reduce our faith to those sort of platitudes and those propositional ideas, and we get out of our bodies, I'm telling you, my body was massively impacted by the news of the loss of my dear friend.
Right.
It's not head work.
No.
It's heart work.
Yeah.
You can feel it in your solar plexus. You can feel it right here.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God, something has been torn. So the bad news of the teaching of Jesus is that we can't even begin to decode what he's talking about until we have learned to tame or to navigate. I wouldn't even say tame, till we have learned to inhabit our human heart. And the problem with that is that we were taught a gospel that said desires are evil, wants are bad, everything is about getting to heaven, the earth sucks, all of this is going to hell, God is angry. All we have to do is get to heaven and get our ticket out of here, just punch our ticket out of here. And that is just empty baloney on days like today.
Yes. When
for absolutely no reason someone you love is taken. It just is. So yeah, forgive me.
Totally agree with you.
Today feels raw. I said on Sunday, we are no longer arguing about actions in the world, not in the world of Jesus. Welcome to the domain of desires, dearly beloved. We find ourselves now in the wild places where wants and wishes reside, where heart rhythms are the primary metric. There is no sense of compliance to anything that Jesus demands, even the perfection that he speaks of. There is no sense of compliance to any of those things that is devoid of squarely facing the human heart. And so we have a lot of work to do, because we taught our kids the way we were taught, which is be ashamed of desires, deny desires, deny the heart yearning. That's right. Deny yourself and take up the cross and follow me. If your body feels like it needs to do X, Y, and Z to be safe, deny, because all of those propositional external things, we've gotten ourselves in a mess by externalizing what is very much a human heart journey. And I would just suggest, and I said on Sunday, every spiritual journey is a heart journey. It's nothing other than that. The epicenter of all spirituality of all types is going to eventuate in discovery and inhabitation of the human heart. I mean, what do we mean if not that when we say God had a human heart in the form of Jesus?
Right.
So the eternity that you're being asked to step into is none other than what you carry on the inside. We've tried to say it over the centuries in so many ways, like welcome Jesus into your heart, ask God into your heart. Just go back to the teachings that Matthew calls, that Jesus taught, with the formula that said, you've heard it said that this is what must be done. I'm telling you, this is what must be transformed. And so here we are. We're still trying to figure it out, and we're still trying to work it out. And I actually think the good news about the human heart is that we can understand it. We can. And I ended very briefly on Sunday, just acknowledging that I think it's a reality of having been raised as a male in this society. One of those realities is that I was taught very early on that I couldn't trust my heart was women's domain. That was a woman's language. The world of feelings and intuitions and desires. These are things to be suspect of, and that's not a male's world.
Yeah, that's too feminine.
Yeah, that's right. Feelings are can't be trusted. Emotions are fickle. And after all that's said and done,
and also under those propositions, we demerit women. Also,
yes, we diminish. Absolutely.
We diminish women,
and we diminish ourselves. And so here's the reality about spiritual trauma. And I want to pause here and say, my friend Alex reminded me after service on Sunday. He says, there's actually no such thing as spiritual trauma. He says, it's religious trauma. Because spirit refers to the Spirit of God, and the wounding agency in our wounding isn't the Spirit of God, it's the institution of church.
Makes
you
sense.
just got pooped on. Your computer's got pooped on. Birds are active today.
What?
Yeah, I think something just pooped on your bag. Anyway,
Well,
so Alex Schutman
yes!
says, just a slight correction, it's actually religious trauma. Okay, and I think he's right.
yeah, makes sense.
Religious trauma devastated men and women alike. It devastated the gay community, the straight community, the male community, the female community. It devastated all of us because it diminishes all of us to subhuman function.
Yes.
We are all perfectly designed. And I said this on Sunday, and I mean this, and I will find other ways to say this gently as I'm able, as I feel like we're ready. The purity culture has been really bad news to men as well.
Right.
So if we're going to get to the bottom of religious trauma and we're going to square up and rebuild our faith communities, we're going to have to do some real heart work. And it's going to begin by not assuming that desires and yearnings and the longings of your heart are evil. In fact, the presence of longing, I think, is the signature of the life of God. And so the good news there is that we all are able. The bad news is it's not going to be easy work. We can't memorize a new set of platitudes and requirements, and we can't. They begged Jesus, what's the new rules? What's the new metric? What's the new thing? And he would always relocate it back at the level of the human heart. So we can end by just saying this, which said on Sunday, friend, whatever distance you've created between you and your desires cannot be traced back to the teachings of Jesus.
Wait a minute. Something happened with the network. Let me see what happened. Keep talking.
Okay, keep talking. Did we just lose video? Or did we lose audio and video? I see it. Something popped up on your screen, but not the camera.
Something.
Nothing yet.
Let me see. Voy a cortar eso,
Right. No pasa nada. As long as you can figure out where we need to go.
Okay.
What?
There you go.
Okay. So I ended on Sunday, towards the end, and we can end on this today. I wrote, friend, whatever distance you've created between you and your desires cannot be traced back to the teachings of Jesus. Possibly you could trace them back to what you were taught he taught, but not to what he actually taught. And that's the difference.
Yeah.
To Alex's point, that's the difference between spirituality and religion, right?
Yeah, right.
We were taught that he taught these things, but that's not actually what he taught. Jesus taught about the heart, and that's where desires come from. And I don't know how far you, rhetorically speaking, or you, or me, or anyone in our community, I don't know how far you are willing to push this idea that Jesus was a man made of desire. But I think there's something there for us, because we have so neutered his way of being in the world that what we end up with is this disembodied mystic. Of all things to disembody, we do this with the enfleshment of God. How do we do it? I have no idea. It's a great marketing coup, I suppose. But Jesus was made of desire, all forms of desire, just like we are. And that did not make him evil any more than that makes us evil. And if love can't free us at the level where desires and yearnings and longings are literally born, where they bloom, then this gospel has nothing that it can do except impact the external world and hopefully get us to some heaven that no one has been to and back from, so we don't know. Like for real. The invitation is to be transformed at the level of the human heart. And so that's our work. And how long will it take us there?
It will take a while.
It's going to take some time, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe a lifetime.
And I think some of the things we were taught to fear don't need to be feared, and some of the things that we were taught to disdain don't need to be disdained, and the things that we were taught to hate don't deserve hatred. I think we have to rewire it all. I guess I say this all the time. To some degree, people are probably fatigued. Like, can you just say something that doesn't require us to redo everything? You don't know what's left.
It's like when you buy a house and eventually someone said, you need to replace the entire wires of your house. It's like it will take a while. It will take some damage on the walls and all of that.
Yeah, it's
but eventually we'll be fine.
Right. That's going to take some time. I think another word picture that comes to my mind would be, when you buy the house and you have to do some gentle remodeling, essentially just take the roof off, slide a new house underneath, and put the roof back on.
What's happened? Oh
yeah.
Okay, we were talking about remodeling.
Yeah, it's like the old, it's the old thing. Hey, so your house needs a little gentle remodeling, which means basically let's take the roof off, slide a new house underneath, put the roof back on. Or we used to say in the heavy industry, in the diesel mechanics industry, which in my former life, that's what we did. We used to say, it's not all lost. We just take the radiator cap off, put a new machine underneath, put the radiator cap back on. But I think that's the nature of where we are in our faith overhaul, if I'm honest. It feels like that. And so be prepared if you travel with us any distance, and those of you who are watching probably already have. Be prepared to really get tired sometimes of constant, massive overhaul. There's a fatigue related to that. Sometimes you want to wake up and be like, I can't push anymore today. I can't do this anymore. But it's an invitation, I would say, not into some disembodied second parallel universe where streets are made of precious metals and houses are. It's an invitation into the glorious domain of human hearts and human desire. And boy, it's just better news, man. Like, you can have your mansion.
Amazing. That's amazing.
I don't want to clean that mansion. You can. If this is what motivates you, if that metaphor motivates you, great, go for it. I want to be welcomed into the glorious and unending domains of the human capacity to love and desire. I want to be welcomed into the eternal human heart. I think that's what Jesus is saying.
I think that makes way more sense.
And it's right here.
It's not. And
everyone has access
mansions
to it.
and golden streets. It's not compelling for me anymore.
Bro, there are mansions inside here.
Yes.
There are crystal
universes
inside. That's right. So, spin the gem. Think about the metaphor. Look at it again. And I just feel like it's invitational. So there you go. Sunday Leftovers on a beautiful day in Austin, Texas.